G'day, Steel Nation. Welcome back to Steel Nation Australia. Just before I start the video, guys, I wanted to do another big thanks to the recent subs. I'm now at 972. We are 28 away from my goal being 1,000. If you enjoy the content, hit that sub, hit that like. It will be much appreciated. And I'm so keen. I'm so keen to get that 1,000. It would be awesome. That is a goal for all YouTubers to get to 1,000. Because once you get to 1,000, you can start putting in advertisements via Google and Google monetization, and you get paid for your work. So I've been working towards this goal for the last year, and I thank every single one of you. So if you want to help me out, help me get a little bit of coin on the side by doing the videos, then hit that sub, hit that like. It'd be much appreciated. 28 to go, and it's a huge milestone for 1K. Now, transitioning into this video. Of course, we know the Steelers are 3-8. They're a bad team. Offensively, defensively, coaching, personnel, players, they're just overall bad. But things can always get better 100%. But that's for another video, another time. Possibly near the end of the week, I might break down the chances for the Steelers to make the playoffs. Playoffs, I know, I'm an optimist. I'm positive. It's the way I am. It's the way I'm built. I always think they can win no matter what. But here we go, guys. I want to start out with this, and I was thinking the other day, right? Who's the luckiest player / coach in the Pittsburgh Steelers organization? Now, I want to hear your comments. Who's the luckiest player? It can be anyone. It can be the long snapper, Christian Kuntz, because he's on the field for a few drives, and all he's got to do is snap the football. I know he works hard at his craft. It could be the punter. It could be the kicker. It could be Matthew Wright coming in, just kicking the ball away and having this and that, right? It could be the third down back. It could be the practice squads guys. But to me, and I want to ask this question, who's the luckiest player on this team right now that, one, doesn't need to deal with the drama, that doesn't need to go through all this losing mentality, this losing culture right now, who's not seeing it all, right? I've got two candidates for this, and one may surprise you. But I want to ask you again, who is the luckiest player or coach on this team? Who's more or less getting a free ride, and who isn't getting them blame in certain situations? Put it that way. Because I've got two, and I'm going to talk both through. If you can see this image here, I've got Mason Rudolph and Terrell Austin. Now, let's begin with Mason Rudolph, right? And in the comments below, put down who you think is your luckiest player. To me, one of the luckiest players on this Pittsburgh Steelers offense is, funnily enough, Mason Rudolph. Now, I don't believe he wants to be the luckiest player. I actually believe that Mason Rudolph wants to play and be a starter in the league. And I believe he can be a competent backup and possibly a starter in this league. It could happen, right? Mason Rudolph is on his last year with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he pretty much won't see the field unless Kenny falls over, and so does Mitch. You would need knocking on wood, 2 season injuries for Kenny and for Mitchell Trubisky for Mason Rudolph to come on the field. He doesn't even dress on game day. They don't dress Mason Rudolph on game day anymore. He pretty much is involved in the Steelers organization, looking from the outside, or looking from outside in, and saying, well, I used to be there. I played there last year. I played under Big Ben. I was the backup, right? He has, I think, a 9-8 record with the Steelers, numerous yards, and he's played quite a few games with the Steelers, but now he's sitting back on the bench, taking in for what it is. And for what it is Kenny's their number one guy. They're not going to move from Kenny, and they're not going to move from Mitch being the second quarterback, the backup. It just won't happen this year. And at the end of the year, Mitchell Trubisky will go out, try the free agent period to try and find a team to, first of all, to be a starter, and then second of all, to be a backup. So right now, one of the luckiest players that's not dealing with this mess. Of course, he's in the meetings. Of course, he's involved in a lot of situations, but he's not really that involved to that degree, right? He's not playing football on the field, going through all the stress that Kenny's going through, or even the stress that Trubisky might go through if Kenny goes out and he has to go in. He knows he's not playing in any games. There's 7 games left, and there's a high chance you'll never see Rudolph play a snap this year. Now, I do believe the Pittsburgh Steelers kind of stuffed that up, right? There could have been a chance this year that the Steelers went and started Trubisky the whole time. Now, I did put my hand up and say I wanted to see Kenny, but that's me being a fan. But what happened was that the coaches only went with Trubisky for 4 games because in the end, he wasn't playing good football, and they went on to Kenny being the number 2, and he started. But why didn't the Steelers use Mason Rudolph at number 2 and have Trubisky number 1, Mason Rudolph number 2, and Kenny number 3? And then go with 2 quarterbacks this season being Trubisky and Rudolph, and leaving Kenny to sit on the bench. That's for another day to discuss. But I still believe he is the number one. He's the number 1 luckiest guy in Pittsburgh right now. 110%. 110%. He's not putting out tape that he's playing bad. He's not putting out tape that he's playing awful. He's having the year off to learn even more how to be a quarterback, resting his body too, not getting any injuries, no injuries, resting his body, watching the game for free on the bench, and he's waiting for the contract and the Steelers contract to end so then he can go and find another team. Let me know your thoughts on that pick being Rudolph, right? The other one, though, is Terrell Austin. Terrell Austin is the second luckiest man in Pittsburgh. And do you know why? It's because Matt Canada is the most hated man in Pittsburgh. And I put my hand up and say, I can't stand the Matt Canada offense. And also, to a certain degree, Mike Tomlin is one of the other most hated men in Pittsburgh. Now, of course, with those roles being a head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, you are going to see a lot of slack driven your way if your team isn't playing well. But you look at Austin, right? You look at Austin and you think, well, his defense isn't playing the best either, right? His defense right now, of course, has TJ Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick, Ogunjobi got picked up. You have Miles Jack got picked up too. All these guys are one of the best defense. You have the best player on defense. Okay. Terrell Edmonds is in there too. All these dudes, right? But the big thing is about this defense. On numerous occasions, they have surrendered a lot of points. Against the Buffalo Bills, they lost 38-3. That's terrible. You can't let that happen, right? Philadelphia Eagles scored 35 points on us. I know these are good teams, and I understand that, right? I understand that. But he's allowing a lot of points. 38 from Buffalo, 35 from Philadelphia, and 37 from Cincinnati. Okay? That's a lot of points. So there's not too many people out there calling for Terrell Austin's job or saying fire Austin, because all the fire direction is going towards Tomlin and the incompetent offense that Matt Canada runs. So I believe too that Terrell Austin is one of the other lucky men in this scenario. Rudolph being the first because he's not getting any playing time. He doesn't get a hat on Sundays. And Terrell Austin having Mike Tomlin and Matt Canada in the fire line right now, saying you're doing a bad job. Pittsburgh Steelers fans want to sack you. But you rarely often hear Terrell Austin fans will come out and say Austin's the worst. But in reality, with this defense, what we pictured it to be in week 1 with Terrell Edmonds, Minka, Kazi, Miles Jack, Devin Bush a first rounder, Cameron Hayward on the line, all these dudes, Highsmith and TJ Watt, nothing is working right now with this defense. It was absolute Swiss cheese in the secondary, and the Bengals carved us up for so many points. We can't win those big games, and we can't get off the field, and they're allowing maximum yards over the last few games. The only good games I have seen playing in this defense, was against Tampa Bay, where they won 20-18. They stuffed up Tom Brady, and last week was 2 weeks ago was a good game against New Orleans Saints. They held the opposition to 0 points in the second half. But guys, those are my player and my coach. They're the most luckiest men in Pittsburgh. Mason Rudolph and Terrell Austin. Mason Rudolph won't get a hat, and Terrell Austin, no one says fire Austin, and he's coaching just as bad, if not worse than Matt Canada or Tomlin. There needs to be pressure on all three of them, And Austin is sitting back going, well, everyone's yelling at Tomlin. Everyone's yelling at Canada. I'll see you later. Have a good day.